Hello class, and welcome to our presentation, Introduction to Hindu Ethics. So in this presentation, as usual, I think you get the rhythm of these presentations. We will address the question, what is Hinduism? We'll talk about the four major Hindu sacred texts and four major Hindu teachings. So the word Hinduism is a general term used to describe the complex religious traditions of the subcontinent of India, dating back to roughly 2000 BCE. So Hinduism is a very, very ancient religious tradition. Now, one thing to be aware of is that the Hindu religion does not have like a central church. It does not have like a central text like the Bible, for example. Rather, it is an umbrella term that is used to basically describe all of the different various religious traditions of the subcontinent of India. And interestingly, the term Hindu was actually coined by British imperialists who used the word as a general term for the religions of India. So in other words, before the British arrived, there was actually no such thing as the word Hindu. All that existed were just a collection of different kind of religious traditions in the area. Now, despite Hinduism's diversity, there are some major texts and ideas that kind of flow throughout those various traditions. And the four probably most influential texts would be the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Laws of Manu. So we're going to go through each of them briefly. So what are the Vedas? Well, the Vedas refer to the foundational sacred texts of Hinduism. They're the oldest texts, and they're basically the teachings upon which the whole Hindu tradition is built on. Secondly, we have a text referred to as the Upanishads, which are philosophical and theological commentaries on the Vedas. We have a very famous text referred to as the Bhagavad Gita, which are the teachings of Lord Krishna. And Krishna, we will learn later, is an avatar of the god Vishnu. We will read the parts of the Bhagavad Gita in class, by the way. Then we have the Laws of Manu, which contain laws and customs concerning the Hindu religious life. It's kind of like a code of ethics. So if this was a world religions or Asian religion class, we would spend much more time talking about those texts, but for our purposes, we're done. But we will touch upon those texts as we continue in the semester. So let's talk about the four major Hindu teachings. So teaching number one, in Hinduism, there's the general motif that appears that everything in the universe is interconnected, sharing the same material and spiritual source. And this teaching is very ancient. It goes back to the Vedas, to what is called the myth of Purusha. And in the myth of Purusha, it is believed that everybody and everything in the universe is made from the body of this giant cosmic man god named Purusha. So everything in the universe derives from this same divine cosmic substance and thus is interconnected. So we're all interconnected. The cat, you, me, the tree, we're all part of the same kind of divine substance. Second teaching, the ultimate goal of human life is to attain moksha. And moksha is the kind of Vedic Sanskrit word for liberation from samsara, or the wheel of rebirth or reincarnation. So let's take a look at this diagram. So according to a text referred to as the Upanishads, which will then influence other later texts like the Bhagavad Gita, all living beings, including human beings, have what is called an Atman, or eternal soul. And the eternal soul is deathless. It cannot be destroyed. So what happens is that the Atman manifests itself within a body on Earth, and it rides the wheel of samsara, or the wheel of birth and death. And it just keeps going and going and going until one figures out how to achieve moksha. And moksha is to be liberated from that wheel of reincarnation. The example I like to give just very briefly is people who love roller coasters, right? I ask them, well, would you want to go on the same roller coaster 60, 70, 80 times? And they all shake their heads no. And that's basically how reincarnation works in Hinduism. At some point, you'll want to get off the wheel. So where does the Atman go when it experiences moksha, and how does one even attain moksha? Well, when the Atman experiences moksha, it returns to what is called Brahman, and Brahman, also known as Purusha, is the Great Spirit, or means the Great Spirit. And Brahman is the supreme being, the creator of the universe and the source of all Atman. So if we return back to our diagram, we see that again, the Atman comes from Brahman, it manifests itself in the world, it rides the wheel of reincarnation, and then when it experiences liberation, it returns back to Brahman. There's a beautiful saying in the Upanishads that says that the Atman are like rivers, and the Brahman is like the ocean. So all rivers rise from the ocean, become rivers, and only to return to the ocean again. So again, souls rise from the ocean and return to the ocean, Brahman. All right, so now we have an idea as to where the Atman goes, but how does one attain moksha? Well, in the Bhagavad Gita, there are a few different ways that are mentioned. One is that someone can achieve moksha by dedicating their life to meditation and other esoteric practices like yoga, but also through acts of religious devotion, and by dedicating oneself to their caste duties, that is, to the particular duties of your socioeconomic class. That is, in the Hindu tradition, there is a unique division of labor called the caste system. And according to the Vedas, the caste system is a divinely ordained system being created from the body of the man-god Purusha. So it is a divine creation. It is not just a human creation, but is something that has existed from the beginning of time. Now, we will learn more about the caste system later, but for now, just know that the most ancient form of the caste system consisted of 4 major castes: the Brahmin or priests, the Kshatriya or the nobles and warriors, the Vaishya, who are the merchants or landowners, and the Sudra, or the farmers and laborers. All right, third teaching. The third teaching is that there exists a universal law called Dharma, the moral and natural law that preserves and sustains the cosmos. So there exists basically like this cosmic force called Dharma that kind of keeps the law, or keeps the universe in order. And all human beings have a duty to follow this law of Dharma, so to help sustain that cosmic order. So human beings actually have a role to play in maintaining the world order. And to adhere to the law of Dharma is considered good karma, or actions. So actions which are in harmony with Dharma are considered good karma, and bad karma is that which is out of sync with Dharma. And our last teaching. The last teaching is that in the laws of Manu, Hindus are encouraged to engage in what are called the 4 stages of life, which would be student, householder, forest dweller, and sannyasin, or world renouncer. So in other words, in the laws of Manu, usually like aristocratic Hindus, male Hindus also, are encouraged to embark on these stages of life. And this way they get to actively engage in the earthly world, and then toward the end of their life, the spiritual world. That is, they're a student. First, they become a householder, meaning they get married, have children, have a job. Then after that, they can retire to the forest for kind of like a spiritual retreat. And then at the very end of their life, if they so choose, they can become a sannyasin, or like a complete world renouncer, which are kind of like homeless kind of men who just kind of, wander from village to village without name or title or anything like that. And the idea is that if you become a sannyasin, then you'll become completely detached from the world, and your Atman will be ready to rejoin Brahman. So for those of you who know anything about Hinduism prior to this presentation, might be going, wow, like we finished that in under 10 minutes. Yes, if this was a different course, we would talk more about Hinduism. But again, we will come to appreciate some of its complexity later. But that is all that we need to know for now.